In this video, we discuss how to safely buy an investment property in a different city or even province to where you reside. We all know there are cities or provinces in South Africa where the property market just performs better on average. As new investors, you may be tempted to invest in these areas, and well, why not? It makes sense after all. But we also realize that the thought of owning an investment property on the other side of the country is understandably quite uncomfortable. However, in our experience, overcoming this fear was the single biggest key to accelerating our property investment portfolio. Now, we have a 5-step process which we follow whenever we're looking to expand our portfolio into a different area. And as you'll see, you only have to follow this 5-step process once for each new area you want to invest in. Okay, let's get into the video.
Step 1 is deciding where to invest. Our primary goal is obviously to find a location or area that offers the best potential investment returns. So how do we approach this? Well, a great place to start is to look at house price data compiled by a company called Lightstone. They release a monthly property report giving great insights into the performance of property markets in South Africa. The data we're really interested in, however, is the property inflation table toward the end of the report. You can see a breakdown of the average property returns per province, returns in the main municipalities, and even which segments of the market are performing better overall. Low and mid-value properties generally tend to perform better, as you can see, and this makes sense given that you usually have stronger demand for more affordable property. Now, armed with this information, you can start narrowing down where you want to invest. But just remember, these values are averages, and there can be a lot of fluctuations in property values in different towns or even different suburbs, both to the upside and the downside. So don't assume that all towns or suburbs in your chosen province will deliver the return you see here. This table is still a great starting point, however.
The next step is to do some online research. If you identify the Western Cape as your chosen province, for example, go onto Private Property or Property24 and start looking around at property listings. Get yourself familiar with some of the different suburbs and the price ranges of properties in those areas. Obviously, we're going to exclude areas where properties are far out of our price range and make a note of areas which meet our investment strategy. This is a spreadsheet we put together during 2018 whilst we were still living in KZN but wanting to invest in Cape Town. As you can see, we did a lot of research. 57 properties made it to the list after researching hundreds online. Now remember that property investing is hugely diverse. There is no one-size-fits-all strategy. We speak about some of the different strategies available, including our favorite strategy, in this video, so check it out if you haven't already. But broadly speaking, some investors focus more on a growth strategy. In other words, investing for capital growth on the value of the property, whereas other investors focus more on higher rental returns and generating cash flow. One such investor is fellow YouTuber Louis Reinhardt. He has some great videos on multi-let property investing and how to maximize your cash flow on your investment. So go check him out. Just remember that generally speaking, properties which give you a great cash flow will tend to produce slower capital growth. And as always, you need to select a strategy that works well for you.
Now, once you've got a rough idea of the areas you can afford and which of them align with your investing strategy, start calling local agents and chat with them. Describe to them what you are looking for, including your investment strategy and your budget. Ask for advice and try to get a good overview of the area, including potential risk factors. We always like to have the same discussion with 3 or 4 different agents operating in the same area and then compare notes to get a balanced perspective. You want to follow this process for each of the suburbs you've identified, taking detailed notes of the discussions. Now, this might sound like a lot of work, but you can easily chat to 5 agents during a lunch break. So in 3 or 4 days, you will have completed your research and you'll be armed with some incredibly valuable information. And remember, this is a once-off process, so it's worth doing properly. Now, in 2018, when we were going through this process, we followed up each call to an agent with an email. Here's a copy of the email template we used. This was important to ensure that the agent understood our exact criteria. We also wanted to be professional and let the agents know that we were serious investors.
Okay, so the next step is to take a trip to visit the areas you've identified and confirm that they're actually viable. You want to spend 2 or 3 full days in the area driving around and viewing as many properties as you can. The way we like to approach this exercise is actually to have it planned out before the trip. We select 4 or 5 of the best agents we spoke to and have them put together an itinerary for us. They already know what we're looking for, so all they need to do is set up some appointments within the time slot that we give them. Here's an example of our itinerary from our trip in 2018. Now, always ask if they can drive you around in their company car so they can give you a physical tour of the area and show you all the important landmarks. Get a feel for the area, ask about any new developments coming up, and keep an eye out for any undesirable features. Be sure to take lots of notes and plenty of photos. If you do this exercise properly, you're going to see a lot of different areas and properties, and it'll be pretty much impossible to remember everything. So you will end up relying heavily on the photos and notes you took later when you actually commit to buying the property. Here's the template we created to ensure we got all the right information for each property viewing. Now, if your strategy is to buy apartments, be sure to identify all the best complexes in the most suitable areas. Find out as much as you can about the complex, chat to the caretaker if you can, and record everything. Again, this entire exercise is a once-off process. If you do your homework properly, you'll be able to buy a property from the other side of the country without even viewing it, with relative peace of mind. All you have to do is wait for a suitable property listing to pop up. Here's a quick pro tip before moving on to the final step. If there's nothing on the market for sale in a great complex that you've identified, ask your agent to do some canvassing on your behalf. Basically, what this means is that they will contact all the owners in the complex in an effort to find you a willing seller. You'd be surprised by how often a good agent is able to find you a suitable property. And guys, remember that every expense you incur to get to this point, whether it's flights, fuel, accommodation, car hire, food, or airtime, they're all completely tax deductible against your property business. Remember to keep receipts and invoices to get some big tax refunds.
We've alluded to this already, but the most important thing, especially when buying property in a different province, is securing a really good team. And this applies to both your sales agent and rental agent. The relationships you form with your agents can make or break your investment, so you need to put in the appropriate effort to find the right team, individuals who are competent, trustworthy, and accountable. What this means, practically speaking, is that every agent you meet during your trip is essentially being interviewed by you. They are auditioning for the part, and only the best ones will make the cut. A good sales agent will put your best interests first, always giving you honest advice, even if it means losing a deal. Good communication and authenticity is critical. We have no time for cheap sales tactics. Now, it goes without saying that selecting an experienced agent is preferable, but we also place a lot of weight on someone who is passionate about what they do and who's eager to please. After spending a couple of hours with each agent, you should start to see the stronger candidates emerge. Of course, they'll still need to continue to prove themselves to you as the relationship develops over time. Now, if you've done your homework properly and found a quality sales agent you can trust, you'll be able to buy a property without ever having to view it for yourself. Because a good sales agent who you can trust can perform the property inspection on your behalf and give you the advice you need. They'll also take lots of photos and videos for you, draw your attention to any defects, and even arrange independent inspections if needed. And as added assurance, a seller is required by law to disclose any and all major defects in a property for sale. So before you sign a contract, you'll get a written copy of this disclosure document too. And this provides further peace of mind when purchasing a property at a distance. Now, the last thing you want to do on your trip is to have your agent introduce you to their rental teams. It's best to meet them in person, shake their hand, and have a face-to-face discussion. This will make it far easier to get a more accurate feel for their level of competence and professionalism. Ask them what their tenant screening process is, how strict they are with their qualifying criteria, and what steps they take if a tenant defaults. We have a great video on tenant management if you'd like a more complete idea of what questions to raise with your rental agent. Check it out here. Now, importantly, we like to ask for some examples of active property listings they have to assess the listing quality. We don't deal with agents who take terrible photos and write shoddy descriptions. This shows a lack of care and pride in their work, and the same attitude is often reflected in their management of your property. Again, this is essentially an interview. You should document each discussion, and you want to speak to at least 5 different rental agents. This will give you a good sample size, and you'll often discover that 1 or 2 agents stand out from the rest. Now, before buying a property, you may want to check out this video where we discuss some powerful tax-saving strategies, or this video where we discuss trusts and how you can build generational wealth by buying property in a trust. Thanks for watching.